Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, your child librarian turned homeschool mom, and this is the first book review, the second video in a series I'm doing on Meg Cabot's The Princess Diaries. Now, in my previous video, I explained these are fluff. They're fun fluff, but they're fluff. So these are just fun reads. I'm reading them because they're enjoyment, because I've previously done the Last Apprentice series, which is much darker. You can check that out on the channel. And I needed something lighter to kind of get away from the dark, the dreary, the world is ending kind of thing in real life, as opposed to the life of a teenage girl who thinks the world is ending because she's 14 and suddenly she's the heir to a small principality. So, if you are familiar with the film, there are a few basics. Girl's name is Mia. The name is correct. She's the heir to a small principality. She finds out when she's a teenager. Grandma gives her a makeover. Eventually it's revealed to the public. She ends up with a bodyguard. She has a best friend named Lily. She ends up falling in love with her brother, Lily's brother, by the name of Michael. She deals with a woman, bully by the name of Lana, and I think the boy has this similar name. What is his name? Look at the book here. Josh Richter, maybe pronouncing that. Her mom's an artist. Mom's name is the same. Mom ends up going out with one of her teachers. That's approximately it. So on to the actual story. So this book series, again, this first book covers about a month. The first month of September. Mia has just started high school at Albert Einstein High School. It's a private school. They wear uniforms. She's about 5'9" with brown hair. She does not have glasses. It's not frizzy as far as I can tell. Certainly not mentioned. She does complain about her height incessantly, that she's a freak. She is failing algebra, and her mother comes out of a parent-teacher conference with a date with her algebra teacher. So, and yes, his name is correct. I can't pronounce it. It's Mr. Giannini. I think she calls him Mr. G. But that's how the book starts. See if I can find the chapters in this book. There we go. Where are the rest of the chapters? No. She writes her homework incessantly in these book series. You find that because it's kind of written in diary format. She's incessantly writing her homework in them. Actually, no. It doesn't give me a list. She does have a to-do list in the first book of this series, which involves dropping off laundry and making mom deposit her father's child support checks because mom is flighty. Buying cat litter. She does have a cat by the name of Fat Louie. That is true to the films as well. That's kind of how it starts. Her mother, she's whining about the fact that she's tall and kind of invisible in school. Her best friend, Lily, is kind of irritating. She likes to see Lily's brother, Michael, with his shirt off. He's a senior, so he's older than them. And she does like to see him senior. And essentially talking about teenage stuff and complaining that her mother is going out with her algebra teacher, which she is failing, and periodically writing her algebra homework in her diary, which her mother gives to her because she basically refuses to talk to her mother about all sorts of things, including that she's slightly disturbed that her mother is dating her algebra teacher, which is understandable. Then on the night her mother is going out with said algebra teacher, her father calls. So it's like, where's your mother? Like, I have no idea. Now they hate each other. Her parents have not had anything to do with each other whatsoever. Her father is not dead, as is in the films. He just has testicular cancer and is infertile. That's how this story comes about. You find this out after she meets up with him. But normally she would spend these, at least the winter breaks and I think part of the summer at her grandmother's home in the south of France. And she knew her father was a major part of the Genovian government. But she had no idea he was the reigning monarch. So basically, Dad eventually gets hold of Mom. Mom says, okay, your father's at the Plaza Hotel in New York. You need to go see him. So she goes sees Dad. Dad explains, like, by the way, I'm a prince of a principality. I can't have more children. You're now the heir to the throne. because yeah, there's nobody else. And you're my legitimate, well, illegitimate. You're my heir. She has hiccups, runs to the bathroom, comes back, slightly freaks out some more, and runs away from Daddy to the Central Park Zoo, where she sits and stares at penguins for several hours until the zoo closes. She actually has to go home, where she lives in Greenwich Village, New York, where she's talked to by her parents. She wants nothing to do with this. Her father is there in the morning, which she finds very, very bizarre. Reading the paper, and it's like, you have to talk to us. Like, we didn't expect this to happen. He was supposed to marry and have legitimate children, but of course he couldn't get rid of the bimbo. She does talk about this. Like, yeah, she's very familiar with the fact that every time she goes to see her dad, there's some random woman there who's oohing and awing about all sorts of things at this house, this massive estate, and then they're gone within a week. So, yeah, she's very aware that Daddy cycles through women and how much her parents can't stand each other. So, it's essentially what ends up happening is her father bribes her. It's like, I will give money to Greenpeace if you will sign this and agree to be my heir and do what you need to do and behave, essentially, which she doesn't realize in the small print means you have to have princess lessons with your grandmother, also known as grandmère, who's very French and wears a turban and chain smokes and has eyeliner tattooed to her face. Yeah, her grandmère is scary and doesn't like speaking English because she thinks it's vulgar. So Mia does speak fluent French, because considering one grandma doesn't speak English, or at least she refuses to speak English. She primarily speaks French. So, yeah, grandma is scary and creepy. One of these princess lessons involves a makeover where grandma has her hair cut into a bob and given her blonde highlights. And her best friend Lily gets very, very irritated with her. Eventually, grandma reveals to the press that Mia is the heir to the throne. So it's her grandmother who does this. She's at school. All of a sudden, she's noticed by everybody. It's like, oh, wonderful. Now I'm the heir to the throne. I intended to keep this secret as long as humanly possible. She ends up with a bodyguard. Lily's still not speaking to her. She ends up befriending a young girl who becomes another one of her main characters. Tina Hakumbaba. I'm probably mispronouncing this. Her mother's a former supermodel. Her dad's from Saudi Arabia. Most people ignore her because she has a bodyguard. Now Mia does too. So she becomes a friend of theirs. And the rest of the book is Mia dealing with the fact that her mother is dating her algebra teacher. She's trying not to flunk algebra, and she wants to go to this cultural diversity dance, and this guy by the name of Josh, who's a senior, he's dating a high school bully by the name of Lena. I can find her name. Yes, Lena Weinberger, and who's very much of a bully and thinks Mia's a freak. And has bleach blonde hair, is very, very obnoxious. She's a continuing character. The boy is not. The boy invites her to the cultural diversity dance. Again, this is September. And he's a senior. I don't know if he's on the I think he's on the badminton team. Again, these are rich kids who periodically summer in the Hamptons. So eventually he kisses her in public for basically the cameras. She gets pissed off at him. And I don't know whether she smacks him, but she tells him off and then runs off to the bathroom because she doesn't want to deal with cameras. And her friends come in and help her, and she gets to dance with Michael. And I believe that's when she first dances with him. So, and that's essentially the conclusion of this first book, because I believe that's how it ends, with the dance. So, but yes, and her friends, and essentially they don't quite know what happens to the boy. He ends up by the punch table with his head down for the entire thing. They think Lars does something. Lars is her bodyguard because he's pissed off because this guy essentially exposed her to the press and for a picture. So they don't quite know. And that's essentially the end of this book. It's the very beginning of a lot of character introductions. You're introduced to Lily and Mia and Mia's brother and her grandmother and her father and her mother and her algebra teacher. So, and various other strange things that go on in her little teenage life. And yes, there's a lot of complaining about boys, and she's talking about bathrooms and going to the bathroom, writing things in her journal, and periodically writing her school assignments in them, which seems to be continuous throughout the book series. So that's it for this book review. These books are fun. They're fluff. They're chick lit, teenage chick lit. Eventually, it's a major romance story around Mia and Michael, and Mia's basically how her royalty affects her everyday life and as she evolves. So that is it for this book review. If you like what you see, be sure to look forward to more. I will complete the entire series. Check out the rest of my channel. I do more serious stuff. I do a variety of different children's book series, teen book series, a lot of picture books, various different films. Nothing current. I have a small child. I don't go to the movies. Because again, I have a small child. My daughter is 3 as of the publishing of this video. As of the shooting, which is far, far in advance, she's still 2. So, but I enjoy these books. I'm in the middle of reading them. They're fun. They're fluff. They're just kind of an enjoyment kind of book read. A little bit of nostalgia because again, they came out in the early to mid 2000s. So, and then of course the final book comes out in 2015 and we will get there. And just the evolution of this girl. So and that's the theme of these book series. So don't think too deeply into them. They're just kind of fun fluff. So again, like and subscribe, check out what I've got, and look forward to more. Thank you.